Yeah, we are here. We're in Little Rock. It's December the 10th, and I have in front of me a family who's been severely and grossly affected by the child welfare system. And first of all, tell us your name.
I am Ashley Davis, and this is my husband, Damon Davis. We've been married for almost 15 years now. We have seven kids, 6 that are in the foster care system now. I had 4 babies in 3 years. DHS team was there with us during the last 4 babies. We started taking drug tests in 2014 when they tip to the hotline was made stating that we were feeding our kids marijuana seeds.
I'm sorry, what date was that?
That was October 30th, 2014.
Wow.
We agreed to taking random drug screens to prove that, we were not drug addicts and that it did not affect our kids and that the allegations were false. In 2017, we were ready for the whole thing to be over with. They were interrupting just everyday life. They would knock on the door when the twins were asleep, or I had all 4 babies down for a nap, and it was just really upsetting. So we requested a hair follicle. They did the hair follicle, and it came back positive for methamphetamine. We thought they had fabricated the results until the kids' hair follicles also came back positive for methamphetamine. We then asked the judge, we told her that it had to have been the house. That was the only thing we could come up with. We knew we hadn't been doing drugs. We knew we weren't feeding it to our kids. So the judge ordered DHS to test the house. Well, that took all the way up until November of 2017. During this entire time, we are doing counseling, parenting classes, therapy, drug and alcohol assessments, group classes, individual classes. We did a total of 2 drug and alcohol assessments because they said that we lied on the first one. Well, when we went for the second assessment, they took the information from the first one and just had us sign it. So, and anytime we went to court, we weren't able to say anything. We didn't have the funds to hire an attorney. The first attorney that we hired, he told the judge told my parents, which ended up telling the judge that we told him to his face that we did methamphetamine, which was a lie. Then he removed himself from our case after the first court date, and we had given him $2,500. So we decided that we were just going to do everything that they asked us to and get our kids back that way. Well, we did everything that they asked us to. And our kids were moved. The 2 oldest ones were in 7 different schools, back and forth between Carlisle, Cabot, Lone Oak. Their grades, they had always had straight A's and B's, and now they're almost failing just because of all the moving around. Our 4 little ones had never even stayed the night with anybody. And I can't imagine the pain that they felt the first night that they were gone. We haven't seen them since May. And it hurts. But thanks to Michelle, last week in her feed, she gave me a voice, and I'm not stopping until I get our kids back. Our kids don't deserve it. And yes, they are with family now, but my parents are too old. I'm not saying they don't take good care of our kids, but they shouldn't have to. We owned our home. We own our cars. We go to work every day. There's no drug addict activity anywhere in our life. And I don't understand how a judge can terminate 2 parents' rights when they've done everything that's been asked of them. We have a brand new house that DHS wouldn't even come see. All the rooms are set up for the kids. Yeah, we didn't have the money to get it. And our landlord, she's an angel, I swear. It was just, nobody had rented this place for 2 years. She wasn't sure if she was going to rent it out. And then she was like, God told me y'all were the ones.
Oh, wow.
And we've been there ever since. Our checks, we get paid twice a month. And combining our checks don't even add up to $600, which is the month's rent. So you add that plus the other bills. Lord willing, it's just our landlord. She's been a blessing. We can show her our check stubs, and she's like, that's your whole check. And I'm like, I know.
Why did they take the kids? What happened that caused them to take the kids?
Felt a hair follicle. The hair
follicle.
follicle.
But why did you have to take it? How did they first get involved?
By saying that we fed our kids marijuana seeds.
Okay, so.
Okay, what put you on the radar?
Okay, so when we told people this before we started doing everything to get our kids back, they would tell us that we were just pointing fingers. My husband's sister is Tanique Catton. She is the DHS worker who embezzled nearly $20 million through the feeding program. I had to testify against her. The week following me testifying against her is the same week that DHS came and got our kids, which that's the reason we thought they fabricated our results. If you go back into her federal investigation, the week that they came out and seen us for the first time in October of 2014 was 1 week after they had kicked in her door.
Whoa.
So the timing, the timeline and everything is set up with her. Like, it's unbelievable.
And so do you think she reported you? She was retaliating against you? Are you thinking that maybe
Yes.
there was 19
people that went down with her.
There is another, plain as day evidence that proves that it was her. When our kids were taken, my parents, my dad's a preacher, he went to get our kids, him and my mom, no criminal record or anything. When he gets up there, they tell him that they've got a 72-hour hold on our kids because of a burn on my son's foot that's like 3 months old. It's healed. So this was Easter weekend. So after that, they were up there Monday morning. We had filled out a power of attorney in case anything happened to us that my parents would get our kids. The DHS worker had thrown that into the floor, saying that, so my dad went to get a sheriff. Well, by the time he got back, DHS's doors were closed and locked. It's Easter weekend, so we couldn't get back up there till Monday morning. Well, when they went back to get the kids, they said that my dad had a hit put on him, saying that he hit me with his fist when I was 15 years old. So now he has, which they didn't tell him that's what happened. They said that in order to find out what the hit was about, he had to hire an attorney. So then he hires an attorney, which took about a week to find the right one. And he, after he hired the attorney and found out what it was about, he said there was no evidence, but it still took all the way up till August for them to say there was no evidence and to drop it to where they could get our kids. So that right there, where did that come from? If there wasn't somebody behind the system that put it there.
Exactly.
And it's not about, to us anymore, it's not about pointing fingers. We don't even care that she did this to us. It's the fact that we've proven ourselves to be great parents, and we have done everything that the state has asked us to do to get them back. What they put on us to complete was the impossible. We pay $870 a week in child support. Our child support was only added up for 8 months. It started September of 2017. It ended June of 2018. And his is almost $9,000. Mine's almost $9,000. That's $18,000 we paid to take care of our kids for 8 months. And they terminate our rights saying that we can't take care of 6 kids financially? We have proof that we took care of our 6 kids financially. They took it out of our check. If $18,000, I could live off of $18,000 for years. For years. With my 6 kids. Because I'm not a high-class, flashy type of person. I don't have to have... We're generic people. Sorry. That's how I was raised. That's how he was raised. We're just generic people. I'll go to the Goodwill and buy before I'll go to the mall and,
And have either one of you ever had any type of criminal involvement?
22 years ago, he had a drug charge.
Okay.
He took care of it. He hadn't been
I'm on felony probation
He's
now.
on felony probation now for a gun charge. The reasoning behind that was he got jumped at our job and by 3 black guys. They pulled a gun on him. Well, he carried a gun on him. they approached him again. Well, they pulled their gun on him, so he pulled his. He wasn't going to use it or anything, but they called the cops and told the cops that he had a gun. So here comes the cops. Well, he's honest with the cops, and that's why him and his probation officer are on such good terms. She testified for him in court saying that he had never caused any problems. He is the A+ as far as probation people go. She goes to our job every day and has been. We both work at Sonic. I mean, it's been there. We've been working for Sonic for 15 years. Enjoy it. I mean, everybody, we haven't told anybody our story, and the people that we see every day didn't even know it until last week when I started talking.
Wow.
So, I mean, if it isn't for anybody else, at least our kids will know that we fought for them, and we can help other families to make sure that this don't happen to them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, thank you for speaking up.
Thank y'all, because y'all gave us this voice. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you have to. You have to speak up for your kids. You know, children don't know. They don't understand the world. What's the age range of your kids?
Right now we have 2 3-year-olds, 2 3-year-olds, a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 15-year-old. I'm sorry. I keep. It's like when they
I
took.
have 3 and I struggle, so you're good.
Well, when they took our kids, I'm still stuck
Time
at that
stopped.
same age when they took them.
And so has it been 2 years?
It's been almost 2 years.
That's incredible. And your babies were how old? They were 1 year old or less? Is this them right here?
Yes, this is them right before they took us. Right before they took them. This is how big they were.
And are those the twins down there?
Yes.
Wow.
And the twins, they're a blessing from God because I was fixed. I wasn't supposed to have no more babies.
Wow.
So, but
And they terminated your rights?
terminated them.
On what was the basis?
The grounds were we are drug addicts. We can't afford to financially take care of 6 kids. We don't have a stable home because we hadn't owned the home for a year. It's everything that they've done to us has been.
Did you appeal it, or are you trying to appeal it? Or
Well, when we had tried to appeal it, I was talking to somebody earlier. We appealed it, and our public attorney or whatever told us that the judge had denied us indigent, which I thought that meant they weren't going to pay for it to
Right.
appeal. This judge is the one that gave us this attorney because we didn't have legal representation. So for her to say it's okay for this person to stand in for us now, but now it's not, it throws a question in my mind because now we're paying child support and then we weren't when she
Right.
gave us this attorney.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's been wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
Who's the judge?
Elmore out of Lonoke County.
So from what county is it?
Lonoke County.
Where is that from here? What part
It
of Arkansas?
is,
Going east, going towards Memphis.
going towards Memphis.
Okay.
You'll pass it on the
I'll pass it
freeway.
on the way home.
Yes.
Wow.
Little town, small town. Just
Are you from that town? Have you lived there?
our whole life. I've been a member of New Horizon Baptist Church for 32 years. My dad's a preacher. I mean, it's
Wow.
just
You never had an argument?
with no domestic.
Violence?
And that's one thing this has done. You know, I was scared when they took the kids that he may leave too because so many people had said I trapped him with all these kids. You know how people talk. But we've became so much closer. There is so much good that have came out of this. And like I was telling him earlier, DHS would hate the people that they have turned us into.
Exactly.
At first we didn't understand why we had to do all these classes and everything, but we learned something out of every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all bad. And the fact that we overcame the impossible, I mean, it's the confidence and the courage that we have now. I mean, there's nothing that could break us now.
Wow.
But
One day I think your kids will see this video. So if there's something that you could say to the kids for keepsake,
yes,
what would it be? I want to hear from both of you.
we love y'all so much. Y'all are our world. When y'all came, the twins, we thought about giving y'all up because we knew we couldn't afford you. But when the closer it got, and the more we seen when they were in our belly, there was no way. And God provided a way for us to take care of them and to provide for them, and they're our world. They mean everything to us, and we'll die fighting for them.
Mm-hmm. Dad, what about you?
I just want to tell them that I love them, and I'll die fighting for them. I won't ever give up.
Well, thank you for not giving up. You know how many parents, like, they go into the shadows,
We wanted to. We wanted to.
move, commit suicide? Do you know how many parents I've lost in the past 3 years that have committed suicide after this?
Well, the biggest thing he had to overcome was the fact that his mom and his sister did this to him. And he wanted to hurt them. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of struggle inside, but he overcame it. And now we just pray for him, because that's all you can do for people. But
Thank you for sharing your story with us, and we're going to get it out there, and
thank y'all.
we have your back. We'll walk beside you, and and one day we're going to be videoing when you do get to see the kids again.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to start
Yeah.
videoing is when these kids get home.
Yep.
So, you have taken something pain, and this is your opportunity where you can take that pain and you can empower other people. Last week when I talked to you, you empowered me. I mean, you said I changed you, but your story makes me want to fight even harder. And so, you're warriors.
Yeah.
And don't give up.
And it's stories like yours that keeps people like me in the place, keeps Joe in that place, that Alan Clark has talked about that he sees. I mean, it's your stories and your willingness to speak up that keeps other people going. It keeps other people going. That's why I'm here, because Facebook is great, and I have, we have thousands of people, but seeing your face and hearing your voice and, knowing what it does is the biggest moving force.
Right.
So thank you. Thank you
you all.
guys. All right.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? Somebody raise a hand. Who's coming? Okay, man. Okay, over here. Come on, baby. It's down there somewhere. Okay. Okay, that's okay. You are, tell me your name.
My name's Brenda Church.
Brenda.
I'm from I live in Oklahoma. Arkansas had taken a grandchild of mine. He was in custody 2 weeks before I ever knew he was in custody. When I found out, I went straight to the DHS, and they shut the doors. No answers, nowhere.
Why was your grandchild taken?
My daughter-in-law got stopped drinking and driving, so they took the child.
How old was the child?
He was 3. He was 4 days from being 4. My son was out of town working. It was on a Friday. By the time he got to town to pick the baby up, the other grandmother was there to pick him up. They wouldn't release him to them. When my son got there, they had done placed him in a home. Well, my other biological son lived in Arkansas, so he went and done classes to get him out of the foster home. Within a year, he had legally adopted him without, and we didn't have a clue. We didn't have a clue that this. We went to the DHS and tried to protest them adopting him, and they told us there was no way he was going to be adopted. There was nothing we could do. They went ahead with the adoption, and I think maybe 6-7 months after he legally adopted him, they took him out of that home for abuse. And he's been gone 4 years. I haven't seen him in 4 years.
And you know where he is?
I think my son is gay. which I am totally against. Each is their own, but I don't want my grandchild being raised in that environment. And I think they took him and placed him with the other gay man, is what I think. I don't know. But I'm not giving up, and I would like to thank y'all for what y'all are doing for us. And there's so many people that don't have the strength to stand up. I have neighbors that I tried to get to come. They wanted to come, but they're so beat down by the system that people like us have to be a voice for the people that aren't able to stand up.
That's right. Proverbs 31, it's not 31, but in Proverbs it says, be a voice for those who have no voice.
Amen. Amen. I just want everybody to know I'm not stopping. This baby belongs to us. They give them whatever they give them per month to raise him, and I can raise him on much less than what they're giving them. It's a very broken system, and it very much needs to be addressed.
Okay, so what year did this start?
14.
2014, and you're still fighting it.
I'm still, yeah. Yeah.
And what are you doing? What are you doing to fight it? What are you reaching out to people?
Well, we come up here last month, Brittany and Melinda Card and a few of us come up here. We've been protesting. We've been protesting over at Fort Smith. We've been over there, I think, twice. We plan on going over there every week. And it's really sad because the people that are coming out of this office that we're approaching, there's some pissed off people. Let me tell you that if looks could kill, it's awful how they address.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to say something too, because somebody back here earlier said this, and I'm sure he's going to come up and talk to us, but somebody said, they told me there was nothing that they could do because the adoption was final. Well, let me tell you something. An adoption is a piece of paper. Okay, do you understand that? You understand that?
Yes.
An adoption is a piece of paper that changes a birth certificate. There ain't no law that says that you can't change that birth certificate back. Okay, do you hear that? Do you remember this? Because I'm telling you, I mean, I know family law upside down and backwards, right? It is so bastardized and so twisted. And even the adoption records being sealed comes out of fraud. And I talk about it in some of my lives about George Tan in Memphis, who started taking babies in an unwed mother's home in about 1925 to about 1950, and she was selling them. She was selling them, shipping them out to California. She is the one who got Tennessee to seal adoption records, okay? Because she was selling babies. So an adoption is a piece of paper. And when they tell you there's nothing we can do because the adoption is final, I want you to tell them that.
Well, with me, what they don't realize is when they adopted him to my other life, I'm the only person they didn't change relationships with that baby. I was his grandmother before, and I'm still his grandmother. And they can adopt him out 3 times, and I will still be his grandmother. Blood is thicker than water, and I'm not giving up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank every one of y'all.
And we will be at Fort Smith also, so
I'll see y'all there.
we'll see
Yeah.
you there.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Thanks
thank
for coming.
y'all.
And keep speaking up.
Oh, we will.
All
We
right.
will. Thank y'all.
Come on. Come up here, dear.
Is it okay if we go together?
Absolutely.
Because our
Absolutely.
caseworker is the same, but
Ah.
a decade apart.
Yes.
Okay, you are.
Raven Trayman.
Okay, and you are.
Amy Hankins.
Okay. All right. Why don't you start?
Okay, my grandson was removed from my son's girlfriend, who was in Pine Bluff prison. Before she went, she was scheduled for a C-section on the 14th September. Her water broke on the 9th, which was a Saturday. I had already been cleared by the prison and the warden and everything to be at the C-section and take the baby home in 2 days, and we already knew he was a boy. When her water broke on the Saturday, I woke up with this just feeling of what is wrong, and I was just like, there's something going on. And I go to Walmart and I see my lawyer, and I'm like, there's something wrong, there's something going on. Well, her water had broken, but I didn't know, but I could just feel it. And he said, well, we could put in a petition, but he's not born, so is he recognized as a fetus and all this. And he said for me to meet him at the courthouse that Tuesday. So that Tuesday rolls around, and I meet him at the courthouse, and DHS was there to do an emergency ex parte, but I did not know anything about it. My lawyer, simply tells me to leave and to meet the DHS lady in her office at 1 o'clock. So I did that, and she told me right off the bat that no matter what we did, that we would never have him.
That she had found a home, not for a day, not for a month,
She had
but
found
for
a
lifetime.
family for this baby, not for a day, not for a month, but for a lifetime. So then my son did DNA, and we started jumping through their hoops because they said that was the only way we would ever have a chance of having him in our lives. That was in 2015. And they broke my son. My son is an ADA case, so they shouldn't have had sovereign immunity, but they did because we have a federal lawsuit, and they used the younger bar and the sovereign immunity, but they shouldn't have been able to. And so we've been fighting since 2015, and we found out a month ago that he'd been legally adopted in June. And they really did. They broke my kid
So they
down.
took him away from a prison mom.
They took him away from a prison mom that was in a hospital with no imminent danger. What danger from doctors and nurses?
And
None.
it was a different county. So she went to a judge in one county
On a Sunday afternoon.
at his
Got
house
Cleared at his home. Got cleared.
to
all
going to another
paperwork.
county
She went from Sharp County to Jefferson County.
and never notified that county that they had a child being removed.
Came back through Jefferson County and Sharp County and took him to Independence County.
And her final paperwork states that this placement was a preference
Yes.
placement.
A
Her paperwork
preference.
says that, and even the guardian at Lyme
Preference
and
placement. What does that mean?
The
it means they
guardian
didn't
at
find
Lyme,
anything wrong with her home. They did
could-
home studies.
And they did a home study and it passed. They said my income was the problem. But they could have made me a foster parent.
Yeah.
They could have done
Kinship, guardianship, or
Yeah,
kinship
they could
foster.
have, and I put in for guardianship. I did an adoption petition, and the deck was stacked against us from the get-go.
And so your son was not in prison though.
No, and at the time of Landon's birth, he had nothing on his record that would stop him from getting his son. And our lawyer said if they rule in the law, you'll leave with your son. Well, obviously, they didn't rule in the law, and I did not know to say appeal
We've
the
learned.
affidavit dealy, you know. And then in the affidavit, there's lies.
Lots of it.
Lots
Like they
of lies.
accused the mother of being a sex offender.
Yeah, and she's not.
Serious lies.
And we live in a very, very small county, and there's such high numbers of terminations and adoptions. We were working.
And are they
with
shipping them out of county? Are the adoptions going out of county?
Yes.
And they're handpicked. From what we understand, they're pretty much handpicked.
We were working with a reporter. This is what I don't get because this says crime all the way around. We were working with a reporter, and she was able to get a list of adoptions, and she said that done by the same judge and one lawyer. And she said some would be like a baseline amount, and others would be this high dollar. And she said she got a death threat in her email saying back off or you'll be found floating. So she called
From
the
who?
attorney. She
She
doesn't
wouldn't tell
say
us
us.
who.
She doesn't tell us. She doesn't say us.
She-
Gosh.
And is she
didn't
from a
tell
different
us.
county? Where's
No,
she?
she's from
Oh,
our county.
She's from our county,
Wow.
but she called Leslie Rutledge
And from
told
there,
her
she's-
about the threat. So right there, Leslie Rutledge knows there's a crime. A death threat is a crime. A death threat about backing off because somebody knows about adoptions. But yet the AG's office is the one who represented DHS during the whole court trial.
Wow.
And what makes Ravens so sad is that I'm Amy Hankins. I'm Amy Albright now, but everybody knows me by Amy Hankins because 15 years ago in this exact same county,
By
a
the
couple
same
blocks away
worker,
from where she
same
lives,
judge.
Same judge, same worker, they kicked my door in, or were told to kick my door in. I'm not even sure what I was the widow of an 18-year veteran soldier. He passed away because of Desert Storm, and we had a 5-year-old that passed away. So in 3 days' time, I lost half my family. And while my son was dying, it went to the Supreme Court down here too, but we won. The doctors all helped us. But the same lady at that time had wanted to take my dying son away from me. And we fought back, but that's what got my attention, was that. And
then she started in her journey with the lawsuits and the lawyers, so then.
Did you get your son back?
No, I never did. My son passed away. My son and husband passed away 3 days apart.
Okay.
So I was not real.
So who did they take away from you?
After my son and husband passed away, we won the first case, which only caused a vendetta, because we won, and it went all the way to Supreme
I know about
Court.
vendettas, yeah.
Right. So now this woman is mad.
So who did they take away?
So my husband and son died, and they take it was like 5 months later, they took all my remaining children from me. Three remaining children. I had an 8-year-old that was devastated, still devastated to this day. He's 24. And not only did they do that, some of this stuff is really hard to say, but I didn't get to see my children's faces for 7 years. On top of that, my children had to live because this woman told them, your mom's gonna die too. She has HIV. That's what she was telling my children. None of it was true. It doesn't matter. It's all over town, it's all over the United States, and it's all over my children's poor little minds, and we're separated. It was horrible. And she did this to my friend 15 years later. See, in this same way, and the head DHS worker actually quit. Her name was Linda Nail. She quit. She threw her papers down in the courtroom and just wouldn't do any more to me. But this Christy Kazee and Kevin King and Phil Smith. So finally, I fought and I kept, and then I start getting criminal charges. So they flipped the script on me. Now I'm a hysterical mother that's coming to the Capitol building. I came down here back then, being with the Attorney General, crying all over the lobby out there. We didn't have social media and stuff back in 2005.
Right.
And so I went to Washington, D.C. I just went everywhere that I could think of until finally I actually think I was getting through because Arkansas put out a warrant for my arrest. And they sentenced me twice. I have a federal lawsuit right now in the state of Illinois.
Sentenced you for what?
They sentenced me for a battery, which was all bogus. All this stuff was bogus. They charged me with battery, assault, terroristic, they just were bombarding me with this. And I just couldn't even swim. And I went to prison. And I went to prison because they sentenced me twice on this battery. So I was sentenced 2 times, and then I already won in the United States 7th U.S. Court of Appeals, Hankins versus Lowe 786 F3D603. That's my case.
So you won being what, your conviction overturned?
I won on the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual and excessive bails and fines.
Did?
Yes, I did. Set a case precedent. Still ongoing. Matter of fact, it's happening today in Illinois. But they sentenced me to 3 years, which I pled no contest, not knowing, because they told me I would get my kids.
Right.
Just do this. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, just do this and you'll get your kids.
Just do this, you'll get your kids. So I'm like, all right, fine, no contest. At the time, I didn't understand what no contest meant, but my mind said, well, no, what contest is there?
Right.
There's all them and me.
Right.
So
right.
I pled no contest, and the next thing I knew, everything and I ended up on America's Most Wanted, and I do not advise anybody go do this at all. It was really hard, but I went and got my son. I went and got him. They sent the judge in my case, which Kevin King got out, Judge Phil, then of course they all buddied up, the 3 of them, and Phil Smith signed my kids away, and here's what the document says, and this is what made me look like a lunatic across the entire United States. The final order was the children have been rightfully returned to their proper parents, John and Sherry Harland. I'm Amy Hankins. This is a judge's order. This is like legitimate judge's order. This is serious. So, and then sends them to Illinois, sends them out of Arkansas into a whole nother state with this paper. And as we all know, a ward of the court, you have to keep the case open until they're 18, close the books. Everything was closed. So I go up to Illinois. The judge thinks I'm some lunatic trying to get 2 other people's kids, you know, because that's what the paperwork in good faith, which they're never in good faith, but this was way out of good faith. And so I finally kind of proved who I was, but by that time went to DC, and Arkansas put another warrant out for me, and they got me and they put me in prison. I got out of prison, and then they put me back in prison, and they just literally, I can't believe I'm even alive.
I can't either.
I can't believe I'm alive.
Or you're not on drugs or like.
Or some, right, anything. Something nuts, which is
I know you thought about it.
I've thought a lot of
This is
things.
my son and his son, Landon.
What happened to your son though? How is he now?
Oh,
Well, they broke him. They just broke him. His coping skills, to be honest.
he now has a
you have to be
record.
honest.
He got a record,
Yeah,
of course,
he got a record.
because that's what they do. They make you
He
want
went
to
to
do
jail.
things criminal.
I know.
And he went to rehab because he, I guess, self-medicated to cope with. And
Yeah.
he said, "Mom, out of sight really is out of mind," is how he decided to cope with it.
Which thank goodness for it, though.
Yeah.
He is coping better now.
And he's recovering. He said he'll be recovering for the rest of his life. I don't understand addiction. All I can tell you is I need to drink Pepsi.
Yeah.
But I've never smoked cigarettes or nothing else. And now he is married and he has a job and he's
Good.
doing great.
Bless his heart.
But I told him that I was able to find some new pictures of Landon, and he said I don't want to see them.
I bet. I'm sure. I know. I understand that.
But
that.
if
It's
somebody
very
would have
hard.
listened with Christy Kazee back then, Christy Kazee
She's
wouldn't have
been
been stealing
damaging
this
people for
baby.
years.
I understand.
Years.
So it's not always it's not always the whole office that's bad. Like the main lady quit in my case, the supervisor, you know. But
Yeah.
that one girl had power. Her dad's an attorney. Kevin King, obviously, the judge. She can go to his house on weekends. So.
Yeah, I understand.
And here's the thing about the judge in the case. The judge in the case 2 years earlier gave me a grandson.
I hear
am
that.
a court-appointed legal guardian of my 11-year-old grandson.
I hear you.
And it's like, and he praises me up and down. During the termination at the very end, he praised me up and down for almost 10 minutes. She just doesn't have enough money. Yeah. Enough income.
But she owns her house and doesn't have a house payment. That's
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's almost a jealousy thing.
Yeah.
With-
And I tried to get a job around town. See, I took care of 2 terminally ill parents for 7 years. When you're filling out an application, employer don't like to see a gap in employment
Right.
that long,
Exactly. Right.
So I had a little bit of my inheritance left, and I applied here, there, and everywhere, even at the jail, thinking, all right, if they're going to be fair about this, I'm going to apply at the jail, and they'll give me a job. No,
Wow.
I couldn't get a job anywhere.
I want to make sure I get that case. So write it down or something for me on a piece of
Okay,
paper.
I will,
Okay.
because it's, they granted me a trial. I won on the 8th Amendment was reversed because they held me, what they did was I was sentenced 3 years, but then they revoked me and they sentenced me to 6 years. The crime only carried 6 years, so now they've got me for 9 years. Okay, well, thank God, thank God, that's what the judge said too. The judge said the judge said it had to be remanded for trial to find, because I knew a lot more would come out in trial. So he remanded it to trial, but the district court judge still refused trial. So I'm back up in appeals now, and I'm just praying and hoping that now I'm going to.
So is that in federal court or state court?
Federal. It's in the 7th United States Court of Appeals. Judge Posner, Flom, and Rovner were my 3 deciding judges.
Wow.
And it's back up there right now today, as a matter. It should be today.
Wow.
And I don't know what they're going to do now, but now I think I get double jeopardy. I mean, that they'll rule that way. But either way, it all. I mean, look at how many years, and I did prison time. So. I want to be a help to anything I can do to help. My children are, 30, 29, and they're all successful people, but I still say that has to do with the fact that I was strong enough to be there. And most parents are broken when these kids are broken and get out.
Absolutely.
They need.
You're right, too, because when I was at her son's grave not too long ago, maybe 3 months ago, there's a lot of parents who they're in the ground.
No.
Alicia, this one's mom. will be
Oh,
in
yeah.
the ground.
It won't be
She's
long.
on her way
She's
already.
had 4 children removed, and I'll help her any way I can. But the last time she come at me with being all out there, I said, "What can I do to help you?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Give me a bullet." And I said, "Nah, I can't do that."
I've lost 3 moms who committed suicide.
She's out there. It's either
And they
gonna
just
be a
they
drug
just beat her
overdose.
up. They just beat her up. I mean, they just beat them up.
She's broke.
Wow.
I mean, she her spirit, it's
Well,
gone.
I think we need an agency in each Capitol building, like a reporting agency, a victim's
Absolutely.
assistant.
You know what I said to Senator Clark too? I said we need an exit interview for parents.
We need, you know, just,
So-
because I came here back then, and I was, imagine, I had just buried my little 5-year-old and my husband, my life, that's all I knew. I married him when I was a kid. And here I am, you know, at 35. So I came down here and I spoke to these two, I still remember who, Carla and Julius, and they told me after about 5, they left, and they came back in 5 minutes, they go, "Well, we've called and checked into everything, and everything's fine." I like, how do you even, I am like, they've told my kids I have HIV. They've said all these horrible things about me that are going around town, and I'm like, how could you investigate in 5 minutes? And nobody ever accused me. The judge finally in his ruling said I was weird, I wore weird clothes, and those ladies don't like me. But
Wow.
no crime or drugs.
So
Wow.
how would they be able
So-
to terminate when DHS never proved their grounds?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. But I'd like to get one more story in here, ladies,
Yeah.
at least. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else, come on. Brave soft, brave soft. I got one more. Okay, come on, dear.
A foster child.
Okay, great. I'm gonna get one more in here, and then we're gonna have to wrap it up. Yeah, tell me your name.
I'm Melinda Card.
Melinda. Card, C-A-R-D?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. All right, talk to me. What's going on?
Well, I was a foster child. I was in from the time I was 13 until I was 18. I had a child whenever I was 17 in foster care. And they tried to take her. They weren't able to because thankfully the judge had put on there that there was a stipulation she wasn't to be removed from me unless we went back into court. Thankfully. However, because they weren't able to take her, she's now 14, I've counted 17 unsubstantiated investigations.
Oh my gosh.
I know there's more, but I haven't gotten my documentations yet. And it's been retaliation after retaliation after retaliation of non-substantiated bull.
Did you have more children?
I have 4.
And they haven't taken them?
No,
Oh,
they
thank
haven't.
goodness.
They've tried. They tried to they tried to put me on the child maltreatment list because my baby fell off of a car. I immediately took him to the hospital, of course, and he was fine. They checked him out, said he was fine, but they would not release us. So I said, okay, well, he's fine. He's walking around. He's running around, causing a mess in here. We're going home. So they called DHS on that. And, I mean, we had to go through all kinds of court cases to get that thrown out, but thankfully it was. But
So on the 17 or so or plus investigations, have you ended up in court with those, that you've had to fight any of them in court?
just that one.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until later that I got smart and realized that they have to oblige with the, warrant as well. It's
Right.
not just
And what county are you in?
Sebastian.
So where is that from here?
Fort Smith. It's,
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it's Fort Smith.
Yeah, northwest from
Yeah,
here.
it was
right.
about 2 hours. But, so I was in care. I was in many foster
So
homes.
how many foster homes were you in? Do you know?
I don't know.
Couldn't
Too
count
many
them.
to count.
Wow.
I mean, I think
And
the
why were they
longest-
moving you?
How often?
Or why? Why were they moving you? Why would they tell you they were moving you?
Because they didn't have room in that foster home. It was just a temporary one. We had a person that wanted to adopt me, but they didn't want me to be adopted, so they moved me out of that home. We had So I would stay in a home anywhere from 2 hours to, I think the longest was a year, and that was a group home. And I ended up running from that home because they were getting investigated, and they did end up having a few that ended up getting fired, and some different issues that they did get charged with.
Do you have any relationship with your biological family?
My biological family is very, very, very strained. I would like to say that we have a great relationship, but we don't have a relationship.
Right. Do you know why you were removed?
I do.
What?
It was because my stepfather tried to molest me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. He came in and asked if I would, and I said that I wouldn't. And then I ended up running away from that home.
Okay.
I went to a police station and turned them in. They tried to put me back in the home, and I refused to go back. And I told them if they sent me back, I would run away again. I didn't realize what I was getting into.
Yikes.
So I went into care, and essentially, other than 2 foster homes, every foster home has been abusive.
Wow.
In one way or another, whether physically, verbally, mentally, sexually. I mean, and it's not just me. My peers were also very abused. And it's not if they've been abused. It's what kind of abuse have they endured.
Right.
Because when you get in a group home, you hear everyone's story, and everyone's telling their story to each other. And the stories are horrible. They are traumatizing these children like nobody's business. I also worked in a group home, the Fort Smith shelter that I was in. And the only reason I did is because I knew the director that was there. And I had no clue what CPS really was. While I was there, I witnessed and assisted with babies being removed from teenage mothers who were very good parents. I cannot tell you one parent that I've seen a baby removed from who was in care that needed it.
Okay, so, and you were removed at what, 13? Is that what you said?
Yes.
13? Okay, so you're 13 years old. You're just becoming a young lady. You know, you're just going from childhood to that transition period to adulthood. You're stripped from your biological family, put in multiple homes, then put in a group home, which there's no, through that whole process for 5 years until you aged out, were there any relationships during that period that were family-like? That you could say, that you still today could go like, oh, that person was awesome?
There is a home. It was my very last home that I did end up, I had to stay a year after I turned 18 because I had my child, and then the month later I turned 18. But they would not release my child, and I wasn't going to leave without her, so I refused to leave. So that time period after they tried to rip my child, they did rip my child from my arms and shoved me out the door. But after that incident, I went into another home, and her name is Neva Dunlap. And I've heard stories about her home, but she was fantastic to me and the other 2 mothers.
So did you take your baby with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and she was only expecting me, and we showed up with baby, and she's like, absolutely, come on. And I actually have strong ties with her family still.
Wow, that's good. At least somebody.
Yeah.
So, and how old are your children now? What's the age range?
I have 14, 12, 10, and 8.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you this because this is, I've worked with families for 25 years, all different kinds of families. Are you concerned that so your oldest child is 14, which is about the time that you were severed from your relationship with your family. So are you concerned about even forgetting that they've tried to remove them from you, about your ability to parent through that transitional period because of the experience that you've had? I mean, how do you deal with that as a parent? How are you looking forward to the next 5 years of the oldest child going through the teenage years and maturing into adult, as well as you've got a couple other coming along, because teenage years are not easy. So, I mean, just kind of how do you process that? What do you see as far as your relationship with that? Is it a female, a girl or boy?
She's a female.
Okay. So your relationship with her and how you help her because you didn't have a model there. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, what's just kind of your mental process there?
Well, I mean, I've learned a lot of things, learned how to cope with a lot of things. And I'm able to give her insight on her daily life in school and the, relationship issues and stuff, not necessarily boys because we don't do that. It's changed. I'm very reserved with my children. I'm very protective, overly protective. We don't do a whole lot of stay in the nights, and there's very few people that I'll let them even be with alone.
Right.
And I feel like I'm able to give her a lot more wisdom than if I wouldn't have been in care, because I have a wide range of experiences as opposed to just normally growing up.
That's true. More cautionary things.
Yes.
Yeah, because as opposed to a child who's been in the perfect home, right, who never had to face any of that, where you just, think everything's la la land the next day, but where you've had to face all of those, you think that you're more cautious in keeping tuned in to if she faces traumas relationship-wise, that you've processed that in some manner, right? Wow.
I would say that my step of processing, because I've been over, in therapeutic different settings, so what is it? Not institutionalized, but I guess in a sense. So I have learned a lot of skills to handle the different things that she goes through, or anybody goes through for that matter.
Right.
And those coping skills, I guess you would say, is what helps me to parent them.
Wow. Do you feel like you were robbed?
Oh, I absolutely feel like I was robbed. I absolutely do. I should have never lost what little connection I had with my mother to begin with. I think if she would have had someone to come beside her and say, hey, look, this is what's going on and you need to protect your children, she would have. I know she would have because she had all the years before. But she wasn't given the opportunity.
Right.
And because of that, I lost a brother and I lost a sister who each have children. My children.
So tell me about
that.
Are they younger than you are? Are they older than you are? Your brother and your sister?
They're both older. And they stayed in the home.
Oh, so they only removed you?
Yes.
Oh,
because I refused to go back. But they stayed in the home without any further investigation.
Wow. And you've lost that relationship with them too?
Yes.
As well as their kids?
I struggle very much so to have a relationship with my sister. We're working on it, but, as adults, it's a little bit different than having a natural relationship.
Well, and not only that, you don't have, part of sibling life is being siblings, right?
Person, yeah.
Right. So when that is severed from you at 13, they, especially when you're developing like that, they almost become a stranger after a certain period of time because you're not being raised with them.
And we had no contact at all. So, after aging out, I went to regain these relationships, and it was like a stranger coming into their territory.
Wow.
And that's how I've been treated, not intentionally by any means, but that it's what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Well, thank you, and why are you in this now? Why do you have an interest in that?
Well, there's been so many investigations throughout the time. I didn't realize that I had a voice. I didn't realize that, I've been so suppressed by them that it's a mental mindset that they get you in, that they're the boss and you're going to listen or bad things are going to happen.
Right.
And that's the mindset that I had. And then I saw your group, and I started getting more information. And, I started doing YouTube, CPS corruption, what's going on. And I realized that, no, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just these girls in care that I saw, but it's also victimized parents. And I thought, you know, I knew that it was retaliation with the investigations that they were doing, but I didn't realize that I wasn't the only one.
Right.
So whenever I started seeing other things, and I knew that it's only going to downward spiral
Exactly.
for my children
Exactly.
and everyone else, and for these people who don't have a voice, who are shut up and told that they can't talk, they have to have people who can and will stand up and come beside them and speak up.
And your daughter is at risk generationally because these records are more permanent than criminal records, I think. When she's 24 and has a baby, they'll go, oh, but you have a history
Yeah.
with DCS. So,
Yeah. And they know her. They all know her.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You have a good day.
All right, anybody else? One last word of just a few minutes. Okay, going. Gone. All right, love you all. Love you all.